Hey there guys, it's Chris here, and today I'm going to be giving you my Climax Booster updated Electrodeity deck profile. So the buddy is still Electrodeity of Light Amaterasu because it is still the best possession of the deck. So, as you might remember from previous deck profiles on this channel, Electrodeity in the past was a grind deck. It was basically focused on winning by gaining so much life that your opponent couldn't kill you, and basically forcing your opponent to deck out, or just kind of out controlling them until you were able to just kill them. It was a deck that, whilst I enjoyed, definitely wasn't a particularly healthy one to have in the format, objectively speaking, especially given our tournament format. 40-minute game ones were surprisingly standard, and I recall at France, when I top 8'd at least 2 of my rounds, only 1 game was actually played, because we would hit time during game 1 and then obviously I'd win that with like 30 something life. But anyway, we'll get started with the deck profile. It's a lot different now. The deck is far more focused on just being a lost engine really. And just also gaining you a ton of advantage. You're trying to be a lot faster. You're trying to hit your pieces and then just turbo filter for Lost World as fast as possible. You're sort of like a worse DDs basically, but you do have access to Katana World's tools, which does mean in some cases you have a really nice matchup against some decks DDs might struggle with, for example. But anyway, 3 copies of the item. Obviously, Kakura Bell of Worship. It's like that's how you get everything started, and I wailed out on the SPs. Because Exalted Flag. Next, 4 copies of the Buddy, Electrodeity of Light Amaterasu. I mean, obviously, card's ridiculous. Was far more stupid when Sakura Fubuki was at 4, but it's still crazy. You're going to be drawing like hell. It's really useful. The gauge actually comes in surprisingly clutch in enabling that Lost World. And when you got 2 on board, 4 life, draw 2 at the start of your opponent's turn, basically, is pretty nice. And also, because of Bushi's pretty janky rulings, end of turn doesn't really mean end of turn, so you can Lost World, then Amaterasu, then end your turn, according to Bushi Road, which I think is absolutely stupid, but that's how they ruled it at Worlds, so that's how it be do. Two copies of Mizu. Still a pretty underrated card, I think, but enough people are running her now that I think it's not as bad as it once was, when I distinctly recall being called an idiot for thinking this card was at all playable. Ended up being the MVP in a huge number of matchups. Yeah, card's still amazing. Really, really clutch against Lost World a lot of the times when you got it on your field, because resting is pretty much the only way you can interact with them. The life gain's pretty nice against a lot of matchups. Yeah, just generally a really nice card. And finally, for the possessions, 1 copy of the new Amaterasu. If it gained life instead of paying life, I'd be running 4 of it. Like if it gained 1 life and then did the other effects, I'd be like, yeah, this is probably better. Doesn't, so it's okay. You want it in a couple matchups, but generally you don't really care. It's all right. It's fine. Gets the job done sometimes. Onto the main monsters, and those are very, very standard. 3 Goryu, 4 Tora. Obviously these are just your filter cards, just to give you some advantage and help you hit your Lost World, basically. And those are all the monsters. And items, as you can see, there aren't many. This is very much a spell-based deck, which can come back to bite you if you brick, but hopefully it won't. So onto the spells. Start with the 4 ofs. So 4 copies of Electrodeity Festival. Your item searcher, really important. But it's also never a dead card because it can give you some additional aggro or some additional board clear if that's what you need. 4 copies of Kagura Electrodeity Welcome. This card is ridiculous even now. You never have to worry about Lost World Engage because you can just get it back. And 4 copies of the new null Soul Aurora. I was really underwhelmed when I first saw this card, and then I later came to begrudgingly accept that I'm an idiot, and this card is really, really, really important in some matchups. For example, against Blood Dragon Sect, generally you don't want them swinging for 5 or 6 crit in your face turn 1, or indeed ever, So just dropping that basically ends their turn until they lost you, but like a Blood Dragon Sect lost is not really that threatening. It's pretty easy to deal with most of the time. Realistically, they're not going to dig more than like 2 to 3 lost cards consistently. Like their ultra high roll is still no more than like 7-8 lost world cards, and like, you know, you can handle that, to be honest. As long as they don't, even if they 10 damage impact you, you do have outs, but like as long as they don't pop off on the same level DDs do, you'll be fine, and they very rarely do. On to the 3-offs. There's only a couple of these. 3 Miracle Fighters, still a great card. Don't think it's needed at 4 because it gets a bit cloggy, because then you have 8 item searches and 3 items, and that's a bit too much. You run this just because, you know, sometimes you want to search a size 3, but you'd prefer not to pay for it, basically, for your item search. And 3 copies of a Draw 3, because the Draw 3 is pretty good. 2 offs now. 2 copies of Kagura Divine Wall. I've grown to like this card more and more. You may have noticed that I'm not running the Electrodeity that can't be dropped by effects. Generally, I found that getting the advantage of Amaterasu was too important to not possess into her. That being said, losing her does suck. So I do run this because A, it's a nice defensive card. 18k defense is actually pretty hard for a lot of things to get over. Obviously not max dragons and things, but that's another reason you have Solar Auroras to sort of hold them in their tracks. But against a lot of decks, this is really good. And also, you know, like when your opponent goes into lost, you can just go, okay, my item's not leaving the field this turn, so I can actually play my spells. 2 copies of Snake Gaze, because fundamentally Snake Gaze is still a great card. Now onto the one-off spells, and there are quite a few of these. So, 1 copy of Akashigure, this is your an extra draw 2. 1 copy of Electrodeity Return, this sort of sustains you, keeps you going, can help you recover. Generally though, it's used to recover an Atora and a Goryu, if I haven't used them basically, or like an Amaterasu and a Atora. That is like, I would say 99% of the time those are all recovered. 1 Sakura Fubuki, hashtag bring back Sakura Fubuki. 1 copy of our Chillax clone. This is literally only for the 10 damage impact because you don't really have a main deck out besides this, and you really need it. I don't really know what I would be siding in this, to be honest. I haven't really thought about it that much in a ultra competitive sense, you know. I'll just play it and I sort of main deck my one-off answers and I see them enough. But I would probably side more of these against DDs because you really don't want to be getting 10 damage impacted. Especially since they can very consistently do it to you twice in one turn. You really want to be seeing a lot of these. 1 copy of Ceremonial Winged Arrows. This is a super underrated card, which I haven't really been seeing many people run. This is essential against the Garga matchup. Your opponent basically does anything, you respond with this, you kill their Garga, they kill themselves. Is basically how it always goes. 1 copy of Loyalty. Thinking about bumping this up to 2 because Loyalty is amazing. When your opponent's in Lost World, especially against DDs, and they aren't playing around Loyalty, so they go Agonia Epis, that's it. They're not killing you that turn. Because provided their board is literally just Epis after that point, or even with the Dimension Dragon item, you don't care. You drop a Loyalty on their 3rd call, even if it's a vanity. That's it. They can't impact you, they can't kill you, you can't just win off of that because you've slowed them down so much. You're probably going to be in Lost World on your turn. You should be fine. Or at least even if you don't kill them, you should be able to get a lot of advantage and sort of stock up and be able to save to survive the next turn as well. 1 copy of Body Block because there are crazy amounts of aggro in the meta nowadays, so I feel like this is kind of mandatory in some decks. Most decks really. 1 copy of Chest Break because there are a lot of really good set spells running around, and especially once Conan comes out this will become even better. 1 copy of Recover Veil. Not that amazing right now. Generally it's used as a last ditch null or to get that last 2 gauge for a Lost World that you really need to see. Very rarely do you ever get hit with a discard, but sometimes it's really nice. Your opponent hits you with a dimension jamming and you just go, nope. Which can be very nice. And finally, for the main deck, we have 2 copies of Lost World. Lost World. So, if you're looking for the Lost deck, that is in my Magic Garga deck profile, so please go ahead and watch that. Skip to the end if you want to, and you will find the Lost deck. It's identical across most of my builds. Very minor changes, if any. So what do I think about Electrodeity in the current format? I think it's surprisingly good. I think I underrated it a bit going into Climax format. I think I sort of... Dimension Dragons became a thing, and I was like, why would you ever take Electrodeity? They're just a worse Dimension Dragons. And that's true. To a singles event, I would significantly question your sanity if you had the two and you decided to choose Electrodeity over Dimension Dragons. However, it's a really solid deck. And as a third place choice in a Team League format, I don't think it's the most ridiculous thing you could choose, to be honest. I think it's probably quite a good one. It has really, really strong matchups against the big boy decks due to Sol Aurora. While Sol Aurora can be nulled... Sol Aurora? They're not. It can be spell nulled in response. Yeah, Sol Aurora. Can be spell nulled in response, but that's not a worry against Blood Dragon Sect. And if Max Dragons are spell nulling your null, that's probably a pretty good situation to be in, to be honest. It could be a lot worse situation. But generally you'll have like two of them in hand anyway, so like, I mean, if your opponent's wasting spell nulls on your nulls, like, that's fine. Generally they won't be. But yeah, I think the deck's pretty good, to be honest. It's really fun still. Enjoyable time, lots of filter. It's a good deck. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it's got solid matchups. And it better because I spent too much goddamn money on it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you got any questions or you got any deck profiles you want me to make, please comment them in the comment section down below. And otherwise, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.